Listen up, Agent. The following briefing is brought to you by From the Helicarrier, your #1 news source for Marvel's Avengers Alliance, and the Marvel Avengers Alliance Wikipedia. Welcome back, Agent. If you thought it was difficult to exploit the attrition effects because of their varied natures and the sheer amount of them, expect the opportunity debuffs to be even more so without the use of someone with the opportunist ability, which has a chance of afflicting near every debuff we'll be going over in this briefing. Unlike attrition, which does damage over time and often comes partnered with additional effects against their target, the effects that we're going to be going over today are more about weakening certain aspects of our foes. In fact, most of these debuffs are specifically designed to counter one of the classes, which you'll often see when using the disadvantage effect. And while this will greatly improve your chances on fighting your foes, Agent, it's best to know what your opponents are capable of so you can adequately counter them. Let's go over the effect that's probably the strongest of them all first. As I'm sure you've noticed by now, Agent, there are many other agents and even heroes who can take multiple actions in a single round. This is most often the result of them using abilities or items that give them effects known as quick actions and free actions. It's incredibly important to know the difference between the two and how the debuff we'll be going over affects them. Free actions are pretty much as their name implies. They're free for the user to take. Most of these actions will rarely do damage and are, for the most part, about buffing the user and allowing them to switch stances, should they be able to. Quick actions, on the other hand, are capable of being on just about anything, and like free actions will give the hero an extra turn to do something afterward. They have their limits, however, as using a quick action will cause the character to gain the stalled effect, making all future quick actions become normal actions. Exhausted is what brings all these actions to a complete and total halt, turning all free actions into quick actions and turning quick actions into normal ones, not only removing the ability for your opponents to buff themselves quickly, but also saving you from possible damage if they decide to use the ability anyway. It also affects those with the Tactician class bonus, and those who would take 2 turns normally in a fight, reducing that action to 1 turn. It's because of this that Exhausted is considered to be one of the most important debuffs. It should be noted that Exhausted is different from Exhaustion. Some heroes have a passive ability to gain extra turns through other means than the free and quick actions. After this extra turn is used up, the hero suffers from exhaustion, preventing them from getting an effect from their passive once more. Neutralized is another extremely dangerous opportunist debuff, capable of stripping away any and all static buffing effects on its target. This includes everything from the Finest Hour buffs that we talked about before, to special hero-specific abilities, to even the Bruiser class bonus. What's more is that the debuff prevents all new applications, meaning an ally won't just be able to enhance their stats again until Neutralized wears off. Off Balance, while probably not as strong as Neutralized or Exhausted, still has its own nuances that you have to be careful for. Designed in part to counter infiltrators, Off Balance prevents any counter effects done by the foe. What makes this particular effect interesting is the fact that what's considered to be a counterattack. Counterattacks, from what we've seen, Agent, are classified by any ability that allows your opponent to react to your attack. So if you see someone with an ability to constantly counter your own abilities, be sure to bring someone who can knock them off balance. Winded, like its sister effect, isn't the strongest, but it has its uses. When placed, Winded makes it impossible for a follow-up attack to be made, in particular something that you'll see common among the Scrapper class. And like Off Balance, it also prevents special abilities that would normally allow the fighter to get an extra attack when one of their allies gets in a lucky hit. Impaired is perhaps the most complicated of the opportunist effects, but that's simply because of the new versions of it that have recently been implemented in battle. By itself, the effect reduces the damage of its target by 20% and prevents them from being able to crit. Naturally, this is to weaken the power of the Blaster class. Counted as impaired as far as damage is concerned when exploiting opportunity, Restrain and Subdued are more specialized versions of the effect. Instead of the 20% reduction of strength that the normal version gives, these effects reduce a certain type of attack by 40%, with Restrained being focused on ranged attacks and Subdued only working against melee. All three effects will replace each other, making it impossible to stack them. As you continue to fight, Agent, you'll eventually come across foes who have the Protect ability. This effect, which can go under different names and have different effects depending on who you're fighting, will cause the user to jump into the way of the attack meant for another target. This can easily make an otherwise simple battle last a great deal longer when you're forced to fight the most durable of foes. You'll want to make use of the effect Cornered in this case, as it will prevent all Protect effects from taking place and removing it from the target if at all possible. Staggered, the final of the Opportunist debuffs, is the longest lasting of them all. Its effect, while simple, is also greatly desired in the fact that it reduces the enemy's chance to dodge to almost nothing. This includes special effects and abilities that would normally give them a higher chance to avoid attacks. There is one final effect I want to bring to your attention before you leave though, Agent. It's technically not part of the Opportunist debuffs, but from what our research shows, it does cause the damage from the Exploit Opportunity effect to grow. This effect is called Hobbled. What this debuff does is prevent the enemy from being able to make stealthy attacks, which you might remember is one of the main effects of the Infiltrator class ability. Stealthy attacks would normally ignore protection and counter abilities both, so should you find yourself faced against them, it might be a wise idea to hobble your enemies. And with this briefing coming to a close, Agent, I hope I helped you so far, and I hope you'll have a mind to return when we go over abilities that affect the mind. Until then, dismissed!